Whizan, and it's a podcast. Whizcast.
Whizcast.
Whizcast. Whiztube.
Brother.
George. Yeah, I think that's the favourite.
I know.
People drive around in cabs all day. Like, you lay in hospital, you got hospital radio. You know what I mean? Things like that. So it is good to have like knowledge-based.
Yeah.
And especially
Something
that
to listen
recent
to when you're in the cab.
report yesterday.
Yeah, definitely.
People are going to be more intrigued about who is undertaking the knowledge.
Yeah.
Because James O'Brien said it perfectly, didn't he? Oh, you've got to do 320 runs and you're tested on them. And Gary said, no, that's just the bare bones. And I think
that's just
that's
don't touch
how
the sides.
It doesn't even touch the sides, does it?
I was shocked when he said that, James O'Brien, because I thought he would have been educated on it. And it was surprising that he had no idea, which means most people have no idea that the 320 runs is almost irrelevant.
Well, you know the common misconception is you don't need the knowledge nowadays, do you? You've got sat-navs. But I'm telling you now, you go down a road that's got plant pots on it or whatever with a sat-nav, no sat-nav in the world will get you around that. No. You need the knowledge. And when you've got people in the back, you know, you've got to be able to think on your feet. Can't be...
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So there's a massive need for the knowledge, more so now than ever.
Well, I don't mind the technology, as I say. Don't worry that they bring in anything that makes our job easier. It always comes down to the fact of who they're going to give the badges to.
Oh, yeah. I agree. Like technology, and I'm sure there's some people out there that will say the apps are revolutionising, or whatever the word is, revolutionary for the trade. But I think ultimately, when push comes to shove, as a cab driver, I can imagine if you're pinned in a corner in a situation, it's only the knowledge that's going to get you out of that, not...
Yeah. I had a friend just come over from Australia, and she just found out I was doing the knowledge, and she was exactly the same. Do you need to do it with sat-nav? And I said, I've driven over London for not a long time, 15 years with my job. And I said, I've learnt roads I never knew existed. And it's exciting. You know, when you're doing the blue books, it's exciting.
Yeah.
When you're going up to Hampstead, South London, Carlisle Square at Christmas.
Yeah. Well, look at Emre when he said about the lady that wanted to go to Gatwick from Victoria.
Yeah.
And he looked on, Google Maps just for more traffic information. And he said, like, it was going to give him a banana-shaped line. Yeah. Because that's what the sat-nav interpreted as the path of least resistance.
Well, if you come Heathrow, you get the sat-nav from Heathrow to, say, Romford or something like that. It sends you around the M25 and brings you back in.
Every time.
Yeah. Which is...
The knowledge still serves a massive purpose.
I think that we can try and make some parallels with other industries. And the army come to mind, where they're using massive amounts of technology, but they're still sending soldiers running up and down hills with 200-pound packs on their back to make sure that they can do it. Or they've got technology to give them all the forms of navigation in the world, but they still make sure the soldier can navigate with a pen and pencil, paper and pencil. So it's very similar. It still decides, if you're going to have a soldier, you want the one that can do it without everything. So if you're going to have a cab driver, bring in the technology by all means, but let's also have the one that earned it, meritedly, became the best, and can do it without it.
But technology is all good and well until it goes wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The knowledge is ingrained in it. It's, it's there above all else, isn't it?
But again, we don't use sat-nav, do we? What we generally do, the only time I ever get stuck is if I can't vaguely remember the location and I want to make sure. And where I'm a little bit old school, now you actually speak to the phone, don't you? And you just ask it, and it shows you the location. That's all I needed. Just needed it to show me that. Yeah. And no matter where it is in London, we're on our way. There. So we're not really using sat-nav for anything. I wouldn't use sat-nav to tell me any route. I'd only use it to remind me of a location.
Exactly. That's an example of where technology enhances the taxi industry, is that years ago, before sat-navs, you wouldn't have had that luxury. You're trying to pull that from memory. Yes, and if you can't, you're stuck. But nowadays, that's where technology doesn't replace the knowledge, but enhances the knowledge, because it gives you that snapshot, and that's all it takes for it to come back naturally.
Well, let's look back then. 20 years ago, we still had sat-nav, but in the cab 20 years ago, we were all still using map books, and every cab driver would pull up at a set of lights to have when they're stuck, they've got a map book on their lap, trying to get to the page. I know what page I want to look at, and I know what I'm not reading any index. I just want to look at Cricklewood, because I need to just make sure when I'm talking about Churchill Road, is there a Churchill Road up in Willesden? I'm looking just to remind myself Have I got it right? Have I got the right place? All done with a map book. But 20 years ago, the sat-nav was there. 20 years later, it still can't do the job perfectly. No. And I know James O'Brien suggested that it will do in the future. I'm not entirely sure it will.
But, you know, how many times do we call over and as a question an examiner's asked the road, and for the life of me, I'm sitting there knowing I know the road, but I can't place it.
Yeah.
As soon as you get the point and you can relate a picture, bang, you're there straight away. Yeah. And that's what Google and things like Cabbies Mate give you the benefit of.
Yeah.
Take me to XYZ restaurant, XYZ restaurant. Oh, right, yeah, bang, I know. And then the knowledge gets you there.
Is there still a nightclub in West Central Street?
No. It's all boarded up.
Okay, because
that was a long time ago. Horse and carriage. Yeah,
that's what I'm going back to. So I just remembered it used to change names so often. Someone would get in and say, "I want to go to Luciano's club," and I say, "I don't know it. Where is it?" And they say West Central Street. You think, "Well, fine. Why just say West Central Street? I'll take you there." If we know the roads, we know where we're going. But it is hard to pull roads, and we all drop famous roads.
Massively.
But we would only know that road because the examiner is asking us for a stage door behind it at Grape Street.
Right.
Because West Central Street, there's absolutely nothing. There's no.
There's no reason to go down
There's no reason. Yeah. But again, the knowledge, we would have pulled West Central Street. We want the stage door at Grape Street. There you go.
We used to play a game. I don't know if you've ever heard this one, but you have to name a road that you know the knowledge student. It's only for knowledge students to play. You know the student knows it, but you want them to drop it. And then when you tell them where it is, if they admit that they know it, you win. Basically, you win the point.
I would be awful at that game.
George hates it. He hates roads. He hates streets.
Yeah.
I think we all do. Because I remember when we first started the knowledge and boys and girls go, "Oh, I dropped, what was one of it? Wood Lane."
Yeah, but
Wood Lane.
Mm-hmm.
Then we could not pull it. And someone said, "Okay, take me from North Pole Road."
I did twice, though, with Mr. Hall on 21s. And he went to me, St James's Gardens, and I'm thinking, St James's Gardens, why do I know that? Like, I even said to him, "Sir, I know St James's Gardens, I just can't see it."
It's not an easy one.
And
St James's Gardens
gives me a point on St Anne's Road.
Yeah.
And then I think he asked me on another question. He said, "Betterton Street." I'm thinking, Betterton Street. I know Betterton Street.
Yeah.
So it's in that's near Endell Street, so I just couldn't place it.
No, we all get
started. As soon as they say the Poetry Society,
as soon as you went to the Poetry Society, right, yeah, of course, yeah.
What about Lancaster Place?
Lancaster Place, yeah. See again,
George, you love Lancaster Place.
Now the thing is, if I'd have asked it to you, you might have got stuck as well. The fact of being asked it or pointed at
on the spot, it's just like
So this is the game. So I know that he knows Lancaster Place. So I know if he doesn't tell me where it is, I get a point.
Okay.
Lancaster Place.
I'm not helping you, George.
It's George, and also don't be embarrassed. It's a classic. The Lancaster Place is my starter on this game always, and then I go to the Lansdowns because there's so many Lansdowns that we know.
Lansdowne now.
You can get killed with the Lansdowns. It's on Waterloo Bridge, George.
Yeah, of course. But even in my head, like Lancaster Place, I think the thing is when you learn the knowledge, i.e., when you learn the roads of London, you learn them in sequence, don't you?
Yeah.
So when someone asks you something in isolation, it's hard to...
But that's one of the tricks.
It's hard to even when you said Lancaster Place, first thing I said in my head was Aldwych.
You had it.
But the Aldwych is a big place, and I'm thinking, whereabouts on Aldwych am I thinking of? So I'm like, straight away, I don't know.
Did you not try the trick of saying forward Lancaster Place or left Lancaster Place? Because it kind of triggers the pattern.
See, but our blue books changed, so we never really called Waterloo Bridge, Lancaster Place, Ford Aldwych. We changed, the blue books had to change, so... Yeah. That's probably why.
Yeah, just you honestly, you can ask me the easiest of roads, and I'm like, as soon as a point comes on it, boom, I see everything. I can probably tell you 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 roads off it.
I'm trying to think of another classic.
And you went Mansion House Station.
Mansion House, yeah.
Oh, in Green Lanes.
No, I would have said Mansion House. I love the
Yeah.
Mansion House confusion. Yeah.
And it was Queen. Oh yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody just waits for the Manor House stage. They're just geared towards it. It's another classic to fool people on. So we're here with George Barker and Leigh Dargan, and Leigh and George have been knowledge partners from the very beginning.
Right from the beginning.
Right from the very beginning. We was even in your same welcome talk without knowing it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so after that, you met here in the school at some stage, but accidentally or coincidentally?
No.
It was you.
Yeah, it was you, Percival. I'd finished doing Blue Book 1, and I come on my way home, I will come into Wizan, asked you about Blue Book 2. Can I buy a Blue Book 2? You said, yeah. You said, have you started thinking about a call-over partner? Have you got a call-over partner? I said, no. And you went, oh, funny enough, someone come in yesterday and Leigh wrote their number on the board. So you went, go through, take the number and give them a text. I thought, well, why not? So I took the number, and I know why Leigh's laughing. I actually thought it was a bloke. So I was like, hello, mate. Just got your number from Dean and all this, da-da-da-da. And I remember, I think you called me back.
I called you back.
And I was like,
are you calling on behalf of your husband?
I was like, hello. And then she was like, oh, yeah, it's Leigh. Thinking, who? Leigh? Oh yeah, you got my number from the note. I was like, oh, mad. And then from that day, that was it, wasn't it?
And then we met up in a Starbucks the following night to say, look, we'll call over. And I said, well, what? Because you hadn't joined the school at that point. I said, well, you might as well join the school. And that was it, wasn't it?
That was it. Went there. We used to just call Blue Books, didn't we?
Blue Books from the beginning.
So in a sense, when you could say you've both done really, really quickly for modern times. You've completed it and come to the end very quickly. I know you're very near the end and George is finished. That is not that long ago. That's 2 years and a little bit ago.
2 years, 4 months.
For you, yeah.
Yeah. So and we're talking about Blue Book 1. So getting together early, there are so many people that do the knowledge early which don't have partners with the intention of getting partners, but don't realise that the longer it goes on, the harder it gets to get a partner. Yeah. And getting a partner early does make a hell of a difference.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we're very similar. We're both driven. And we've never really let each other down. And I think that's a difference we find with a lot of call-over partners in the school. When we say we're going to be here at 7 o'clock on Monday morning or Sunday morning, we'll both be here at 7 o'clock, and we've never let each other down. And I think that's the best thing about both of us, because we just want to get it done.
Yeah, that's it. You got to commit to it.
Yeah,
there's no you get out what you put in. It sounds cliche, but actually with the knowledge that there's no truer word. Yeah,
I don't know how people do it, switching on and off. I couldn't do it. No. You have to switch in and stay switched in for the whole duration until the end. I was shocked yesterday. I was talking to some of the students outside that were from Afghanistan, and they've decided at 28s that they can stop calling their blue books. And I thought, well, that's quite daring of you to decide that you can do that. I thought it was very lazy in actual fact, but really and truly, all you're doing is just taking a gamble that's unnecessary. You need to maintain that.
No, we done it right to the very end, didn't we? Even radius points. And I remember you saying to me, once you've done your radius points, they'll go to your long-term memory. What you know, what you don't. And for a long period of time, I didn't call them. But after so long, I remember I had an appearance with Hall, and he was asking me, like, Clarence House, Lancaster House, and I'm just thinking, I don't even know these points. Yeah. When I looked them up, I thought, I can't believe I've dropped these points.
They're easy to drop. Not for anyone of any calories, but they're easy to drop.
Yeah, I thought, I can't believe I dropped these points. These were on my radius. So actually, from probably mid-28s all the way then through to the end, I actually called them.
Yeah.
I went back to calling.
I've gone back to my radius. Not a lot. I just do maybe 100, but just it's really good to refresh because there's some examiners that do like them big old points, and you can do your daily sheet, you can revise the daily sheet, but going back to them radius sometimes, it's a good refresher.
It just goes to show that actually that is your bread and butter.
It is. I mean, there was more to what I would have said at the time that I would have added to that I probably didn't, but there is a necessity to kind of slowly rotate them.
Yeah.
And keep that rotation going. Yeah. It's just the fact that for a lot of people, you're inundated with too much. Yeah. And in terms of importance, that could be put lower down because the newer stuff is coming out, the daily sheet's coming out. Yeah. These points that are here and now need to be done. But at the same time, if you can keep rotating those old backlog, it keeps them at the forefront because you are going to forget quite a few of them. And certainly, if you're not practicing at all, you do need to have some form of practice.
Well, the best thing is the daily feature on the app. Because it breaks it into 7 days, and it's just a 7-day cycle, and it actually holds you accountable.
Yeah.
Because if you miss that day, you've missed that bank of points, and
it's
not coming round to it's not coming around to the next week. So it's not like, oh yeah, well, I'll skip Tuesday and I'll do it Wednesday, because Wednesday you got a whole new. So probably one of the best features of the app is the daily cycle where it splits the points up, because it holds you accountable to make sure each day
What is your daily number for this cycle? Does it say?
I think mine ended up around 400, give or take.
Yeah.
Some days it'd be about 39 something. Other days were like 41 something. So, but it's give or take. It's 400 for your radiuses, and then on top, I think my bike list points, I also got up to about 300.
Yeah.
So more or less, you're doing like 700 a day.
I rate it as being the bike list as being the most important because they were unknown and freshly pointed, so they need to be brought up. The next one would be the pointed that we've done before, and they're in that regime. And what do you say would be your time to revise? How long do you need to revise 300 or 400 or 500 or 600 points?
I tend to find I got through them in an hour.
I tended to do about 600 in 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the...
I could do normally my radius, my daily, what I had to do off the radius app, and my daily off of the point sheet app in about an hour.
So if you're doing quick fire question and answers,
I could just...
That's really quick.
Because I was doing them enough, day in, day out, day in, day out,
that was the idea.
it was there. It was just bang, 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 bang. So but definitely a daily feature is...
Do you do the daily feature?
Yeah. But I probably take a bit longer. I just look at it sometimes because there's other roads and points that you just think around that section, you just think, oh, actually, I forget how you get into that point, or there's another one slightly off, but it's just constantly revising, remembering.
It definitely helps.
It never stops.
Yeah.
I had quite a photographic memory. So,
I'm not a believer in photographic memories. I don't think that exists. But
I had quite the luxury of, in a sense then...
Or you're just awesome, one or the other.
If it's not photographic memory, I had quite a luxury in a sense. I could go to a point, look at the point, have a bit of a scan, and every time I'd call that point, I could see that image.
Yes.
And if, and I suppose not everyone has that luxury, or if you don't have that luxury, it's maybe harder. And
I don't know.
It's due process.
I don't know.
I just think you're a different mindset as well, because you are so driven. You'll look at that point and go, I need to remember.
I remember the first radius map I'd done, I questioned if I was doing it right.
Yeah.
Because you spend so long doing your blue books and driving these roads and trying to visualise and see the turns.
You've cracked it once you've done your blue books.
Trying to see this and trying to see that. And then you come to these radius points and you're thinking it's almost going to be like the same thing.
Completely different.
Is there something I should be looking for? Is there something I should be trying to... And all you're doing is drive, or all I found myself doing was driving up to it, having a look, oh yeah, great. All right, lovely, I got that, boom. And
which is exactly what I would tell you to do.
And it was almost like, it's just don't feel like I'm doing enough. And you hear the classics, learn your first left, learn your first right. It's too much information. It's too much information.
You don't actually, you switch into a different brain set. So now you're ignoring the name of the road that the point is in and trying to think, oh, I've got to learn that. So then stress increases. So the whole process is very simple. If you point something, you say hello to the point, and then as you drive off, you say that point was in that road. Yeah. And you try to remind yourself that point is in that road. And then you can remember, like you said, I have a visual regurgitation of the fact that I pulled up at it. It was there. I see it. And I was a thing of people used to say, well, you need to know it's on the north, south, east and west. And for me, I always used to tell them, no, it was on that side or that side. Correct. That's it.
The problem is there's too many people that have got, when you're sitting there doing points, too much input from too many people. You know what you're doing. Just listen. And a couple of new guys have done. They went, how have you, 2 years, how have you done that? And I said, I've just listened to, I haven't overcomplicated the process. I've been told what to do. I've followed the process and we've cracked on with it. And it showed that we've...
Yeah, and it has really...
The thing is with a point, right, if you go and you look at a point, don't worry about the first left and the first right, because if the point comes out enough on the sheet, then you'll crack that anyway, because you'll have to, if it's coming out enough. So, and
if you don't, you drop it.
You just know where the point is on the road, right? And as that point comes out, if the point is important enough, you will naturally. It's like a language, isn't it? And almost like your points are your words, right? If them words are important enough, you will learn how to string them into a sentence. And it's the same when you're doing it for the knowledge. When you're
in a sense, George, what you're saying is it always annoyed me. So let's say I learned a turnaround for a particular point and I was there and I gathered all this detail. And then for the 2 years I'm on the knowledge, that point never gets asked using that detail. Yet on the sheet every day is the detail of what I need. So it's telling me what I should learn specifically. So you've got this massive overkill of trying to learn everything. And this idea is such a strange thing that it seems the least capable people are trying to learn everything.
Yeah.
And the more capable people are realizing, actually, let's structure this. And there's an age-old cliche in terms of learning anything. You have to learn the big stuff. Once you've learned the big stuff, you can continuously add more and more detail of smaller regimes on it.
I think you agree with that, George.
Yeah, 100%.
Because at the beginning,
100%.
you wanted to know every turnaround, this. Late as you got on, you were just like, I'm going to give it big, simple, and just know what I'm doing. You didn't want to overcomplicate. But at the beginning...
Yeah, at the beginning, you want to... Yeah, of course you do. You want to
know this. And
you want to know the ins and outs and this, and I'm going to need it. And slowly...
you can't cope with it.
I think when I got to the end, it was... Simplicity was key.
Yeah,
because I would say undoubtedly the most important thing we done was go to the school and call Blue Books.
Yeah.
Because in appearances and when you're at the school and things like that, we both got complimented on how fluently and how well we call.
Yes.
And when you're in appearance, people can say this, that, the other, or it's human nature, right? If you sit me in a chair and you ask me to go from A to B and I'm reeling it off, like a dream. I'm not saying you don't listen, but human nature thinks this person, they know where they're going. So you've already got one, in the bag, and the rest of it should follow. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I had one appearance in particular with an examiner, and you'll know, but when I analysed it after the appearance, the first run, he asked me, I just called it like a dream. Knew where I was going, knew the points, bang, 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 bang. And I could see him sitting there, and might not be the case if you're asking, but in my opinion, that run scored me the appearance.
Yeah.
Because after that, he knew straight away, this person knows what they're doing. Da-da-da-da.
And listens less.
Yeah.
And next question, you made me drop 10 points.
You
made me drop 10 points.
Wasn't Mr. Swire or Mr. Wilkin?
No, Mr. Patel.
Mr. Patel
Made me drop 10 points. On the second question, I'm thinking, wow, he's destroying me. But then the third and the fourth question pretty much was, two straightforward questions. But at the end of it, he just said, I wanted to put you under pressure on the second question. And
he did that.
Almost lure you into a false sense of security of thinking that you wasn't, and see how you coped on the last two questions.
But again, I know, George, you're into coaching and stuff, and this is another one of the coaching aspects for me. One of the little tricks is be proud of what you know and don't care about what you don't know, because there's nothing you could have done. And you get often people fall apart. You could ask me Buckingham Palace, but if I don't know Buckingham Palace, there's no shame. I know 20,000 other places. That's where I've reached. That's one I haven't reached. Yeah. So you stay focused on the ball and wait to listen for what you do know, and you're there and ready. Yeah. But a lot of people do fall apart. They get asked 10 points that they don't understand. They wasn't meant to know those 10 points, and they think, oh, maybe I'm doing something wrong. And then they get asked Manor House Station, and they don't know where that is either.
Yeah, I remember coming out the appearance, and I'm standing with John, and I had, whether it's I could tend to remember more or less all my drop points. And I remember giving them to John, and we just couldn't find, or they're not even, John had hardly even heard of them.
Oh yeah, well you know the trick of making up.
Yeah, and I remember Mr. Patel coming out in his civvies. That's how long I've been down there with John, and he even said to me, "What are you still doing now?" So I'm trying to give John all the drop points. But yeah, going back to obviously like being fluent with your runs.
Yeah.
Look, Mr. Patel may tell you something different, but in my eyes, I scored that appearance on the first run.
Yeah.
Because he knew straight away. This person knows what they're doing. They know where they're going. They can see it. They're calling it fluently. So definitely calling fluently is a big.
It does make a difference.
It is. If you're splurting, splattering. If I was an examiner, all of a sudden it might. Does this person know where they're going?
Well, when you stutter, you can actually tune in and hear everything they say. Yeah. Yeah. And when you call fluently, you can maybe paste over a mistake quite smoothly, but it then becomes for me to actually think, oh, the route I had in mind wasn't that, but if he's called that so smoothly, maybe that sounds good. Cool. If you haven't called it smoothly, I'd be more questioning of it, but you called it smoothly, I think he actually knows what he's talking about. I might not question that one. I let that one go because I'm not quite sure if it's better or worse than the idea I had in mind. So calling fluently makes a massive difference.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's not so easy to call fluently. But when the answer comes, and I think all the fluency comes from the sheer volume of point-to-point practice that we do, and the memory of I have seen something similar. And this again is one of the big failings of many people when they're studying, is that they just don't do enough volume to accumulate a memory of something similar or exactly the same. And one of the first things I usually ask people when they think they're having problems is how much point-to-point you do. And I'm shocked at how often the answer is 10. They do 10 runs a day. And I think 10, if you're doing 10 and I'm doing 60 or 50, can you see how much better than you I'm going to be?
What's the common thing we pick up from other students in school when they do point-to-point? Or what we'd say is what we thought was a common mistake?
They never do enough.
They do 4 questions, one appearance.
This is a big one.
They do 1 appearance, and then they swap, and then the other partner does an appearance, then they swap. And so in 15 minutes, they've done 4 questions each.
Slow,
We would do 15 minutes on the timer. Sometimes we would rattle through like 3, 4, 5 appearances because you're just...
Memory kicks in as well. And the thing is, you're kind of getting asked blue book, what seems like blue book to you, but it isn't. It's just the fact that I did that one yesterday, didn't I? Okay, so that's bosh. That was the answer. Yes.
And the more volume, one of my big struggle areas was like always Streatham / Brixton, because you don't realise how south and smack bang in the middle is, and we'd get lines that would go into, say, maybe Shaftesbury Avenue or somewhere like Covent Garden. And I always used to go left and right because I just couldn't, do you know what I mean? I just couldn't see, or the way I see or thought I see the map is that was direct. It was only through doing sheer point-to-point, volume of point-to-point, that you end up getting your own lines. Yes, your blue book governs what you call, but you almost, in effect, create a blue book 5 through point-to-point. So whenever I was in appearances and I used to get asked certain questions and I could see both points, I already knew the line I was going to call. And it makes it so much more, you're not sitting there panicking, deciphering the line. Don't get me wrong, not every appearance I knew the line, but there's a lot of appearances where it would be, you'd get a point, you'd get the next point, and by the end of it, I wouldn't even have to think of the roads. I just had to think of 3 or 4 waypoints along the route. So, I don't know, let's just say, for argument's sake, Brixton to the Aldwych. I would only have to think of, right, Kennett Park Road, boom, Waterloo, Lancaster, and the roads are there, and then it just comes.
You did pick an easy line there, but you'd be surprised how many people think that Brixton is in the wrong position, not realising it's just a straight line down.
That's the point I was just trying to make, is that but that only comes through volume of point to point.
Yes.
And when you do call over with people that only do 4 questions each, the pressure then when you say, actually, we're going to do 15 minutes each, they get really worked up and go, God, this is so overwhelming.
That surprises me. Yes, it's true though. I know
it really overwhelms them. And people that are more than capable, when you ask them to do 15 minutes, suddenly they shut down and go, it's getting too much.
Yeah. You've got to do it like that.
Really capable people.
Yeah. I have never ever understood it from the very first time I started doing the knowledge myself, that people would want to do 4 each. And I realised it very quickly that as soon as you're paired up with someone who's not as good as you or is better than you, that the 4 each suddenly becomes a massive disparity of, like, I've been sitting here for 20 minutes while you just did those 4, and now it's my turn and I've done the 4 in 2 minutes and it's your turn again.
Yeah. 15 minutes on the time. Again, another fantastic feature of the app. You got that 15-minute timer, and it's about, getting for yourself, get as much done as you can.
Yeah.
You almost
in that
get
time.
Greedy.
Yeah.
Because you want to get that 15 minutes in, and you want to get as many questions answered. You pen the line and you rub it off and go, right, I want to go again and again and again.
Yeah.
Because for me, like, people love bankers, don't they? They love penning on bankers. For me, I don't learn just penning on. What I need is point to point. Someone says, right, take me from there. That's what makes me learn for the next time, going, why did I take that bridge? So point to point, a new boy joined yesterday. He was like, how do you get through it? I went, get a call over partner. Now you've done your blue books. Go and get your points and do point to point.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, really? But someone else said this. I said, watch the videos. What does Dean tell you to do? And it's no lie, is it? That's worked out well for us.
Oh, I'm not going to lie. Most people I know that, especially the modern day, where the misconception is, I can't do the knowledge because it's going to take me 4 to 5 years. Most people I know, they've got through it in what majority of people would consider to be a quick time. It's because they've done what they've been told. They've listened, not tried to say like, oh yeah, well that's what he told me to do, but actually I'm going to do this. It's just they've done what they've told and gone and done it. And because the proof's in the pudding, the method works. That's why the method's been about for
30 years.
There you go, 30 years. You know, you don't have a method that survives 30 years if...
I don't think it's even a method, George. My view on it has always been that these are standard, well-known educational techniques in any subject. And I just think that no one's actually been bothered before to teach it. They're just... I hear so often, oh, I did it this way, or I did it my own way, or I found it was better for me like this. I'm often still studying how we study, and there's loads of things coming out now. You know, the idea that this person's a visual learner, this person's a listener, this person's an activity learner. And every scientific study they've done says, no, that's all rubbish. There's no such thing. You're all learning the same way. You're just making an excuse for yourself. And all the tests they do prove that if we just did this, you would learn better. Yeah. And there's loads of studies done on memory as well. And literally the simplest memory technique of all is repetition. Just repeat something enough and it's there. And usage. We remember something because we use it enough. So people, when they're doing their point-to-point, you're getting usage.
Of course.
And when we do our revision of our points and the revision of our blue book, we're getting repetition. Yeah. And so you don't need any special super memory techniques or anything. Just go to the basics, build up from there, and practice your point-to-point. And the other thing that always shocked me was people miss the concept of what they're actually doing. You are not training ever to become a taxi driver. You are training to be a person that sits in a chair in front of someone and answers questions.
I agree.
And once you pass that, 100%. You'll become a taxi driver and learn how to be one.
I remember.
I love George because right from the beginning of the knowledge, you had people going, you can't be a firefighter, you can't be this, and you can't do the knowledge. Mm-hmm. Now, George is so driven. I can do that.
Yeah.
And he's succeeded in everything that he's wanted to achieve because you have that mindset, and it's never, I can't do it, I won't do it. You just get on with it.
If you want to do it,
I'm going to do it.
Yeah. We should point that out, actually. I mean, George, you are a full-time firefighter.
Yeah.
Are you a professional referee?
Semi-professional.
Semi-professional football referee. Mm-hmm. And anything else that you're doing, you're a ballet dancer, if I remember right. You like a bit of ballet.
I wished.
My neighbour in Turkey is a ballet dancer, and it's called a ballerino. I don't know if you knew that. Male ballerinas are called ballerinos.
Okay. I can see you in a pair of tights, George.
Well, you know.
And he can do press-ups without his feet touching the ground.
There you go, George. That's your next task.
Yeah. No chance. No, it is
mind over matter though.
It is.
And there's too many people saying you can't do it or you should do it, or you'll never get it done in this amount of time. And I think you're the ideal candidate really to say.
You just got to put your mind to it.
I do work.
Yeah, you just got to,
We haven't pointed out either, George, that you actually contemplated seriously giving up.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Oh,
definitely.
That phone call.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had literally 1 week where
meltdown.
It was just off the back of no, was it first lockdown? Somewhere
no, it was
just coming out of the first lockdown, and all the
LTNs were coming out.
Yeah, they all just come out.
Your blue books were changing.
Blue books
constantly.
changed, and
he just bitched like a girl. To the point.
Yeah, I got to the point.
Say that?
Yeah,
he was like,
no, I hold my hands up. I did.
Bit sexist, but
in my head, I was like,
I can say that I'm a woman.
Okay.
In my head, I was like, I've just spent all this time learning all these runs, and just like that, with a click of a finger, they've shut half them down, and now I've got to go back over it. I've got to change it all. No, I ain't doing it. No, not worth it. No, I'm not having it. That was it.
How selfish.
That was it. But what we'll say is, thanks to obviously like yourself, Joe, Sam, Harry, people in work, believe it or not, that are cab drivers, convinced me to not knock it on the head and go for it. Probably one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life regarding
Yeah.
It is factual, life-changing decision.
Yeah.
To continue doing it.
It was a very, very big moment of weakness. I mean, you were a little bit pathetic, to be honest, at that
for
one
him,
stage.
though, as
yeah,
well.
for you,
You know,
yeah. We
for-
expected so much of you.
Yeah.
And, you know, when everyone thought you were on fire, you know, and when you said, you could say other people, they're going to quit, you would expect it. But I thought, like George, nah.
Yeah.
We never thought that one was ever going to come.
No.
Maybe a girl, because girls are quitters.
No, I'm not having that. The girls are great.
kidding, no, I'm kidding,
Girls are
no.
great.
Must have had a moment.
You did have a really moment.
But no, on a serious level, best decision to...
Well, you got to go work yet, George, so wait.
Yeah, of course, but, you know, even when you get your wreck, that's...
What did you say when you got your wreck? Do you remember?
What, in terms of how I felt?
Yeah.
It was like... When I got my wreck, it was like... Mr. Harvey gave me my wreck. The one that, honest to God, best feeling in the world. But it felt like someone turned a tap on the bottom of my foot and the blood just run from my body. Like, it's just in an instant state of shock.
I've got a degree. I've done this. I've done that.
Yeah,
this
literally.
Best feeling in the world.
Literally. I've literally studied since day one. I've not been out of study.
Yeah.
I school, college, university, qualified as a teacher, trained to be a firefighter, started the knowledge. Yeah, by a best feeling I've ever had.
Yeah.
In terms of obviously all the achievements.
Well, now that's over, there's obviously a feeling of emptiness.
Sheer, yeah. How many times have I said that to you?
He rang me up
Complete
about
feeling of emptiness.
a couple of days later.
Because
And it was sad because in the nicest possible way, I don't think sometimes you could enjoy it as much either, because I passed out, and that's the saddest thing. I was like, this is your moment. You've done it. But you were like, you'll get out. And I was like, it's okay. But you felt...
but when we started together, we literally finished each blue book together.
In tandem, yeah.
Missing pieces together, pointing to... Like, we'd done literally everything. I dropped, you dropped.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Each stage throughout. So it's... we started it together. We will finish it together.
Yeah.
So that is there. But yeah, it's anyone who's got their wreck will understand what I'm saying. But it's just if you're doing the knowledge properly, it governs your life. You know, every day it's I'm going to wake up. I'm going out on the bike at this time to do X, Y, Z. I get back. Right, this time I'm going to call my book. This time I'm meeting Leigh at the school. This time I'm going to do my points. Everything else fits in around that.
Yes. But you've hit one of my other key things that I like to teach, which is be very structured. There's such a randomness to some people. I call sometimes. I call my blue book sometimes. I revise points maybe sometimes. The structure is set. I fix to it, and you treat it like a job, and you stay to that regime. You feel good about yourself. Yeah. And going back to you passing out and the feeling afterwards, I remember a tremendous feeling of guilt that I'm not doing something.
Yeah, definitely. It's just, it's a weird feeling, and compared to some, I was fortunate, I would say, with my selection of examiners, if you want to put it that way. You've still got to pass the appearance, don't get me wrong, but
you need a little bit of luck.
I had probably more than my fair share of luck along the way, but I know sometimes people used to say, didn't they, all the time, like, it's so lucky.
Listen,
but I always used to say to you,
the cookie crumbles,
is the way the cookie crumbles.
You can't.
You need a bit of luck to get through it. You don't know who
you're getting. You sit. Everyone sits in that room.
Yeah.
You wait for that door to open. You look round and go, thank God. I might. Yeah. You know whether you've got an opportunity to score that day, and you took full advantage of every time. And like you say, the examiners know that you're doing the work, and I think that's a real difference when people come to school or not. And we can all sit there for 6 hours looking at a book and thinking we're going to score that day because we've looked at a book the whole day. But unless you're out on the bike pointing, unless you're calling your blue books, unless you're doing point to point, revising your points, the examiners know it, and it's as simple as that. Yeah,
no, you do. You need your luck, but and it's just saying. I suppose people have said before about but the harder I worked, the luckier I got.
Right, so it's cliche.
It's cliche, but that is the truth of it. That is the truth of it. Like,
George, what I found with a lot of people that I find who are redlined going back a while, they'd say, "Oh, I got redlined. I was got redlined by it was Patel. Patel redlined me." No, Patel D'd you. You had 3 others. Yeah, I had Harvey, okay, and I had McDowell, and I had Shaw. So you're saying the bad luck was Patel? There were 3 other people.
You redlined yourself.
Yeah. So, what they're not doing is, and I think there's a pretty much a football metaphor, really. You're not winning against the teams you're supposed to win against and gaining those points in the bag. And then there's other teams where you're probably going to lose, but you hope for a draw or whatever it is. So, and it's kind of along them lines. You're probably going to get a D. Statistically, you're going to get a D from Mark Gunning and from Jay Patel. Statistically, their Ds are a higher percentage. I should have checked the percentages before I came along.
Not George.
I actually checked Mr. Gunning the other day, and I think he's in the 50s, isn't he? He was 53 or something like that.
Percentage is higher percentage of Ds.
His Ds is, out of all of his appearances, I think he gives out 53% Ds. So, yeah, I mean, again, I was... What you will, people score with Gunning, so I never see Mr. Gunning, so I can't really comment on his appearances.
Dintsey
Wilkins, yeah. So
Dintsey?
No.
Oh, you didn't see? I thought it was a little nickname there, Dintsey Wilkins.
No. So I didn't see Mr. Wilkins for an appearance, which I'm actually quite excited about because I remember one day I went out and collected 90 of Mr. Wilkins' points, thinking, right, that's it. If I get him. I've learnt his lines and I've got his points.
Yeah, he was great. John Wilkin would when he first started, he had loads and loads of technical questions, and what was brilliant about them is they were repeated. And this is always my argument. You can ask a technical question, that's great, and you know that the first people that come across it are not going to know it, and then we're going to chase it and learn it. Yeah. Don't just ask a technical question once every 6 months. And he gave you the opportunity to learn something technical. Yeah. And then when he wanted to, he introduced a handful of brand new points that you were never going to know that were usually around one of those technical points. He did like to clean up the whole area. But there was something about his system that you could read into and work towards. And that's always been one of my criticisms is you need to make sure that there's something to work towards. You can't make it just random. You can't pick 1,000,000 points and never ask the same one again. You can't pick 1,000,000 questions and never ask the same one again. You've got to give people a chance. We already excel way, way above anything else that any other cab driver in the world, as I've said before.
Well, that's the difference, obviously, with some of the questions in talking specifically about the technical ones. There's some technical questions out there that they would ask, never to be asked again.
Yeah.
So you're learning a turnaround to answer a technical question, and it's never going to be asked again. Mm-hmm. So it's almost it makes it a mammoth task to be able to.
Well, that would bring me back to Mark Gunning, who I also like very much. But for his questions, I actually wouldn't practice them. I'd take my chances on the day that I'll be able to answer it. But really practicing it is kind of a waste of time because the technicality is not going to repeat. And I love a technical question. I loved West End questions where you can make 2 points very close to each other and there's only one answer. There is not 2, there is only one. Where the longer the run becomes, the more variety you can add into it. So technical questions, which the missing pieces were originally based around. I love all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, there's definitely,
I don't at the technical questions.
Yeah.
But I think we want to be better at them in that red circle.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I wouldn't criticise any examiner. I think they're all there to serve a purpose, and they all contribute in their own style, in their own way in which they ask questions to the overall knowledge. But I do get your point in, the cities, the inner red ring that we used to call it.
Yeah,
it's very condensed, very technical. From people I spoke to, especially, a lot of your work in a cab will be, concentrated in them areas. And sometimes we went for days, didn't we, answering questions. You feel like, you've not done.
Yeah.
A lot of runs used to go through there, didn't they? A lot of questions, but sometimes you felt like, well, I haven't answered a question in here for ages.
Yeah, and the technicality changed, obviously, with Tottenham Court Road and Gower Street both changing. It opens up, and I haven't looked at any, but I'm sure that if I sat down at the map, I would be able to find at least 24 technical questions that were on top of each other that would be a nightmare to be hit with. Yeah.
Combine it now with Covent Garden as well.
Like for me, I really don't want this to be recorded. Like Bolsover Street. We got asked Bolsover Street last week. Someone that just got their wreck that was calling over me crashed Bolsover Street because they had no idea actually because it was one way.
Yeah.
And it's stuff like that we're going to hopefully be doing on a day in, day out basis because all the hotels are there, that, you know, whatever we're going to be doing. But for someone that's got their wreck crashed to get to Bolsover Street, when they're calling over me, just really kindly coming down because everyone's passed out now. So I've got no call over partner really. But it's technical stuff like that I hope when I get in the cab, I want to be confident, go, I know how I'm going to get to Bolsover Street. But sometimes when you sit in that chair and they ask you in that red ring, I'm terrified because we don't get asked enough.
No, that's one of the things that has changed over the years. That would have been our bread and butter back then. We would have always, there were so many technical questions and they were really interesting.
But that's what I would enjoy.
Yeah.
I really would enjoy getting more, just actually, you know, we're going to be out in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I want to know that I can get from Bolsover Street to, I don't know, Berkeley Square.
How about Bolsover Street to Bolsover Street? Because if you you give the point at the bottom to the point at the top, suddenly you've got to know, am I going to go back up? Yeah. Or there are so many varieties on it. I mean, that could have turned out to be quite easily in actual fact. But
actually, Hotel Fitznovia to Langham Street, Gem.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you get from there?
Yeah.
Don't ask me to do that.
And people like to think that the customers you're going to have in the back of your cab, they're the type of, you know, they might want to go from a hotel just to a restaurant around the corner.
Well, you're going to get all this sort of stuff. I remember having someone complain. I was in Rathbone Place and they wanted the Connaught Hotel. I've got to turn right into Oxford Street. I can't. So I'm going to turn left into Oxford Street and I'm going to do a U-turn. And they think I went the wrong way and I'm now doing a U-turn. It's like they don't realise I've just done a technical manoeuvre. I had to go left to do the U-turn so that we don't break the law and take you back. And they're like, do you know where you're going? You think like, well, yeah, I do. I know exactly what I'm doing. Yeah. But what I'm not going to do for you is take you across St Giles Circus and start looking for 4 or 5 roads to come round again. All I did was not do the illegal right turn.
Yeah, that's it. And I think, you know, the knowledge would, you can't sit in a pit, you know, we'd all have to go, you know, left Oxford Street, comply U-turn and forward Oxford Street. But
you know, there's an argument for that. There has been for many years, 30 years, the argument for us to perhaps just do that because this is what we are going to do. So we're kind of, I like the fact that we're learning extra roads. It allows us to know roads that some people might live in and we can go straight to them. I remember someone getting in and asking for Gambier Street. And most of us, I think, know Gambier Street. But for them, it was like, well, Gambier Street, do you know where it is? Yeah, I know where it is. I don't know how or why. I just know where it is. It's something I know. And they're impressed with the fact, you know, some silly little street in Southwark.
Yeah.
I got off on a tangent there and I forgot what the principle was that we was talking about first of all.
I was saying about, you know, in appearance you can't say...
Oh, yeah, there was. Yeah, they basically have been arguing, and they're still arguing it now. So the idea would be, let's say you're in a dual carriageway, completely like Marylebone Road, completely sectioned off.
Yep.
And then really and truly, for a start, it took years to include the feeder for Baker Street Station as a turnaround.
Yep.
It says taxis only, but we technically wouldn't be able to use that. So we were making lots of little made-up rules that weren't really necessary. And I think you could argue even for dual carriageways that you should be able to say leave on the right because you're probably going to find a way of getting back round anyway in some sense. Yeah. At the moment, it's not going to happen that way. But
I think like the Marylebone Road is a good example because it comes back to a lot of points where it's, you know, set on the left.
Mm-hmm.
Only.
It's not practical. Why are you asking me to set a fire station on the left when every fire station has a
clear argument.
forecourt in front of it? The only fire station that doesn't is Euston.
Euston's clear?
You can use
It's got a little bit of a barrier there, isn't it? And I know the fire trucks come out and they do swing round it.
Yeah.
Whether or not in a cab, I don't know if you could.
Oh, I don't even know there was a little bit of barrier. I mean, I have
always... a little bit because of where the lights are on the junction is quite close. But like, I think the classic one was West Norwood. You know, it's got a like 10 by 10 square. There's no need, and sometimes they're the ones that used to get me. That
was a bit annoying. Yeah. The thing about the Euston one is that when you turn it around, I don't know what it needs now, but it used to need a figure of 8 turnaround to get back. It used to need a loop and a loop to bring you back to get it on the left, and it wasn't necessary. It was always possible to pull on that forecourt and pull off of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not sure the thing that you're seeing, Jules, but you're probably far more up to date than I am in terms of that. But I don't see anything blocking. And obviously, fire stations don't want that restriction. They want the
it might
need
not,
to
and you know, I'm sure I remember when I was
This
being
is
there.
again another overthinking of what you should be thinking of to leave a point.
Yeah.
Can I leave on the left or can I leave on the right? When actually, you can do either. It's not an issue. And when you've got students in the school going, "Oh, it's leave on the left only, leave on the." Well,
Never take their opinion. Never take.
I remember. Do you remember the Whitechapel Art Gallery?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's only no. Like, it just, and that's the problem actually from questions like that is
Too many people.
You know, too many students and just overthinking it and
Yeah. There's two. They are two different cultures of people, and I always used to teach when it's leave on the left only, it's an absolute. Yeah. And if there's any doubt in your mind, leave it on the right because the debate is opened up. So you just leave it on the right. Don't waste energy and time on it until you know. Yeah. And I went past it the other day in Cornwall and I saw it. I mean, when I was on the knowledge, it was called Abacus Bar, and it's blocked by a pedestrian. Bollards. Yep. That's it.
Yep.
And it was only thanks to Mom Danvers and John Harvey. They brought in the guidelines to say that they don't count. You cannot start taking notice of a pedestrian bollard as preventing you from setting and leaving on the left, and it's just on the right side.
Well, I had Tokyo Pizza with Mr. McDowell, which is up in Maida Vale, and I just went leave on the right, and off I went. Called it, and I remember coming back. People was like, "You can't do that." It's just when you actually look at the point. Yes, it's right on the corner. Yes, there's a set of traffic lights, but you would never drop it right on the corner. No, you just wouldn't do it. You'd be such a hazard to all road users. You wouldn't do it. You would turn left. You'd go past it. You'd sit on the left-hand side where it's safe to do so. Yeah. At the closest possible point, which actually then would allow you to leave on the right.
Which is now actually again kind of clearer. For example, the Essex Road station was recently clarified because it's got a railing in front of it. There's no point in sitting outside it because they can't get there. So you would be setting off the railings or off a zebra crossing, and leaving a left or a right is perfectly legitimate for any of these points.
Yeah, and I remember the same. Remember when we asked you about Bow Road Station? Because when, like, obviously,
you never got an answer from Dean.
You know?
But when we
you moaned about it for months. You never got an answer from Dean.
I remember being in my
Was it on text?
Oh God!
No, I asked you in person. I think you end up going to Turkey, and I'll be like, you know, Dean's been in Turkey for months. He still ain't told me if I can set it on the left or the right. But honestly, I think it's only when you.
It's Bow Station.
Yeah, it's only but that's probably when we at that time when we was in that point where we was like.
No, that's when George was in that point.
Yeah. No, you can't do this, you can't do. But I think as you go on, you just learn, don't you?
Have some self-belief.
You get to a point, you go, look, there's an island there, there's zigzags either side, so you've got to either drop there, you're going to either drop there. Therefore, you can set on the left, you can set on the right, you can leave on the left, you can leave on the right. Boom.
Yes. Oh, perfect example. I went up for appearance. Fish Street Hill, they asked me. So all the boys are outside, remember? Did you leave? How did you leave it? I went, I left on the left. They went, you crashed it. I went, what? Everyone's sitting there going, she crashed it and she scored with McDowell.
Yeah.
I went, what? Yeah, you've got to leave on the right for Fish Street Hill. And
thinking the bottom end, Lower Thames Street, that's what they're thinking of.
So okay, they didn't leave from the top.
No. So I left from the top. And I did the turnaround.
Yeah.
But it's like everyone constantly like, oh, you did this, you did that wrong. Well, no, because you've got to think about it logically.
And you've got to think out of the box.
Yeah, and you know what? It's probably the only reason I scored with McDowell that day because I was the only one that left from the top because he wanted me to go to Whitechapel.
Yes.
The rest of them went to Puddle Dock.
But if you actually think about Fish Street Hill, practically, realistically, you are more likely to leave from the top by Eastcheap than you ever are Lower Thames Street because that's where the station is.
Well, I don't know. I think what you're saying there is an excellent question. So you basically went over London Bridge.
I didn't know.
No, where
Fish Street and Monument Street.
No, I went.
You left from the very top at Great Tower Street.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, Eastcheap, Swire Junction.
Sorry. Yes, Eastcheap.
And then did the turnaround. The rest of them went from the bottom.
Yep. And here's me. Even I've gone from halfway. I've gone left Monument Street, left onto London Bridge, and come back over Tower Bridge and gone.
That's
to
the point
Whitechapel.
I'm making. Actually,
John the Point Collectors had to get the boys back and go, no, you can leave from the top part of the street hill.
The absolute top.
Because they all got the hump thinking she only scored because she's a girl. And honestly, we're all standing outside going, she only scored because you're forced left.
Yeah.
And not one of them thought you can leave from the top.
You girls, you get it easy.
Here we go.
But now that raises a nice question. Fifth Street Hill now you should ask people runs involving Fifth Street Hill, because it's broken into 3 options of coming out the bottom forced right, or going Monument Street forced on the London Bridge, or leaving from the top into Eastcheap.
Yeah.
Which, how many people are going to think of the 3 options and come up with the solution?
New Bond Street is another example, because it's got the bollards, and actually when you get the other side of the bollard slightly is partly still New Bond Street.
Yeah.
So that's another one where, depending on where they asked you to go.
Well, we had this trouble always when we was writing the runs. It was Sumner Road in Peckham, which people argued that you can't leave from the bottom, but yet there's a truck length of Sumner Road at the bottom. And this goes back to your lights question about setting down near the lights. People would say, that's too near the lights. I need a definition of too near. Is it 1 meter?
Yeah, of course.
2 meters?
Yeah, I agree.
Is a road 1 meter long and it's too short? There is nothing in this sense. I kind of would count a road if it was blocked by a gate at 1 meter. I'd pretty much say that's no access. But as soon as it's beyond a car length, then there's a car can get in there, and that's the road. You're in it.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's the Sumner Road one. But the lights one, and for many years as well, people didn't understand zebra crossings. It was such a strange one that they thought you can't set that on the left because there's a zebra crossing in front of it. And you had to explain to them, well, you can't stop on a zebra crossing full stop, so you can't set it on the left anyway.
Yeah.
It's the overthinking all the time, though,
Yeah,
isn't
massively. But yeah, I mean, when you go on, you become, especially in your appearances, you become simpler but more effective.
Yes.
But that's also governed by the fact you're more confident in your own ability. I think that you take, I won't say more risk, but it's what you're doing is more calculated because you've got that confidence in your own conviction to.
And your ability. You know what your ability is.
Yeah, whereas in the beginning it's all, you're processing. Can you do this? Can't you do that?
Yeah, we do overcook it. I got beat by an old boy when I first passed out. We were going to Camden, and I can't remember if it was coming from Victoria Station. I've forgotten the start point, but we both had 4 passengers of the same group. And when we got to Park Lane, I decided that we're going to Camden, so I'm going to cut all the way across and cut through Mayfair. He stayed on Park Lane. I thought I was being clever. He went into Gloucester Place, and he went around inside Regent's Park. He's at Camden. I'm still mucking about in Mayfair and Fitzrovia, chucking lefts and rights, and the passengers. And they're like, when we get there, they're standing there waiting for me. And I kind of learnt a little bit of a lesson there that you have to really simplify the fact that, and we can actually do this in appearances. So when I say this story, people say, you can't do that in appearances.
Yes, that was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
You can do that because, and it is really due to the fact of the changing head examiners, which is now Ma'am Chennels. Basically, distance is the absolute key to the price of the fare. Now, time makes a difference, but distance will be the cost of the fare. And when you add together what we call steps, which is a left to right, left, right, left, right, and you add that together to one big step, which is one big straight and one big straight, it's the same distance as the steps if they're even, but you're going to get people say, oh, it's not too near the string, and I have never worked towards the string.
And that was the common, where would I say, probably, let's just say Queen Victoria Street to...
You're going to do the corner of the river,
Victoria, for example,
which means you've got to go over Blackfriars Bridge.
Everyone, you've got to do 2 bridges. You've got to do that. No, just bang it around the embankment. It's direct. It's quick.
It's shorter.
You can't do that. It looks like a banana.
That's confidence, isn't it?
And
because
but we used to be like that. We used to always chuck it over 2 bridges, didn't we? But actually, don't need to.
Not only do you not need to, if you thought about it in real life, I'm in the back of your cab. I know I'm going to go straight up here along the embankment to Bridge Street, and you turned left over Blackfriars Bridge, and I'm thinking, am I with a mental patient here? This
I've
is
got
a taxi
two
driver.
bridges to do.
Yeah, I remember actually speaking to someone who's already a cab driver, and he picked up a lady. I'm sure it was on Grosvenor Road somewhere. Let's just say Westminster Boating Base, just for location. And she was going up to say somewhere like Camden. You know, and in your head you think about it and you think, right, get up here, cut across. And he said that she got in the back of the cab and she said, right, listen, I do this journey every day. You're going to bang it all the way down here. I want you to go all the way to Millbank, all the way through here, up this. So, you know, sometimes people know the route that they want to take. Yeah,
every day, yeah.
We penned it, didn't we? And it was like, oh God, that looks awful.
Did they follow the river?
Yeah, she followed straight along. They followed straight along the river, and they cut up. And I don't even think they went Shaftesbury Avenue. I think it come round to the Aldwych at Kingsway, and it was just boom straight up. But you know, when we looked at it, we was like, oh my God, like.
But she might have been wrong, you know. I mean,
may well have been, but in her eyes,
yeah,
you know,
they want to simplicity. They understand it. I mean,
that,
I have had Waterloo Station to Lonsdale Road, and as I came out of Waterloo Station, I went over Westminster Bridge, and I'm going to go all the way along to Hammersmith Bridge, which would have been open in my day. And from Waterloo Bridge to Hammersmith Bridge is a straight line, and we're in Lonsdale Road. And she shouted at me as I was going around Parliament Square, "Where are you going?" I said, "Well, we're going to go to Hammersmith, and over Hammersmith Bridge, you'll be in Lonsdale Road." She said, "I want to go the way all the other cab drivers go." I said, "What way is that then?" "They stay on the other side of the river." I said, "Okay, well, don't worry, I'll take you back. We'll go back over Westminster. I'll switch the meter off and we'll start again." Which means that you follow the saucepan shape of the river and back up, which, well, I knew, obviously. But it's fine for me. I don't mind doing any route that you like. It's just that, one, all the other cab drivers before me had learnt the easy technique of just follow the river anyway. It's going to take longer. It's going to be a longer route, but no one's going to mind. That Westminster Bridge to Hammersmith Bridge for regular folk is a little bit beyond their brain capacity to understand that literally it's one straight road along the Cromwell Road, West Cromwell Road, and over Hammersmith Bridge, and you're in Lonsdale Road. They can't see that. So, yeah, just go where the passenger wants to go.
Yeah. And
we've all got it to come.
Yeah, it may well have been a longer, but
it was substantially longer, actually.
Yeah,
I mean, but it was nice for me, and it was your pride kicks in, and you have to forget that. And really, now there is no pride, which again is another stories, which are the two cab stories. Regardless of what the cab in front does, follow them, because you're not there to embarrass them. You might have a better route, but if you do turn off and your route's worse, you're going to look worse. Whereas if you follow him, at the end of it, I've done it a few times, and the guy at the front's got out and said, "Oh dear, that was hard, wasn't it?" I said, "I'm glad you had it in front, because it just meant I switched off, put the meter on, and followed you. It's easy."
Yeah, and ultimately in that situation, it's about service.
Yeah,
it's about
you don't want to make it look too
delivering that service to our customers. It's not about me versus you in terms of a cab driver. You're right. I agree. You should just follow regardless.
Well, you raise another thing there when you talk about service, and I hear lots of people everywhere I've been in the world, I've been ripped off by cab drivers, and I have been quite a few places, and in every single country, the cab drivers at some stage have ripped me off. Not including Turkey just yet, and I've been using cabs quite a lot in Turkey. But I don't think a cab driver in London that's deliberately ripping you off, bloody hell, they'd have to really think it, because it's very, very difficult for us to actually try and do that. We're so geared. We think everybody knows what we know. So they get in the back, and we think that they're on, well, especially with Google now and everything else, but we really think they know what we know, and we're just trying our absolute utmost to do it as best we can, and that's from the knowledge. So when they talked again, it touches upon the point about them saying about SatNav can do it. SatNav doesn't have a guilty conscience about taking you the wrong way. We are absolutely trying our best to do that. So I've never been aware of somebody deliberately extending the fare.
No, and I think human perception comes back to it quite a bit again. The common one, we speak about a lot is you go left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right on a map. It looks like a piece of art. But actually, in real life, someone in the back might be thinking, does this person really know where they're going? Because it's left, right, left, right. When they just want to go on the main roads, what they perceive to be the most direct route, and that's what satisfies them. But there may also come a time where there is a lot of traffic, and you do a left, right, left, right, left, right, and it's gets them where they want to be, cutting out the traffic, and they will appreciate that. So, in terms of in a cab, I suppose it's horses for courses.
Oh, but you remind me of a little story about an examiner called Mr. Burt, Bill Burt. He was a student that bought materials from me years ago, and he was saying, what are the cross sections they were called at the time of missing pieces? And I said, Bill, what these are is anybody can paint matchstick men, but learn these and you can paint portraits. Yeah. This is the details that we could do. This is the clever stuff that we could do. Yeah, and it is. The thing is about this detail is it's absolutely amazing what we do, and we should. It's a shame, but I am now a fan of we need to reduce the detail because the competition is less, and there are so many reasons. But as we get more and more people to do knowledge, we can bring all of this stuff back, all of those classic questions.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think you're right. Because of the numbers currently on the knowledge, it's about, increasing that again and getting it back to levels where it's, where the cab trade needs it to be, right? Because obviously COVID, and off the back of that, I suppose a lot of people...
I think we've made ground recently. I think that things are starting to pick up. And the biggest thing that makes people want to be cab drivers, and this is going into the advertising thing that we were speaking about earlier, we don't advertise. You don't need to advertise for people to be cab drivers. You tell your friends and family.
Word of mouth every time.
Yeah, always. You're going to say to them, it is worth it. And I think I'm hearing cab drivers start to say that again.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I've had so many people since I got my rec say to me about starting knowledge.
But how many Uber drivers doing the knowledge, do you think?
Well, if another 5% of Uber drivers did the knowledge would be safe for the next Yonkers days.
And why do you think they do it?
Well, it's a far more enjoyable situation to be in, where you're not paying your 20%. Are they out now?
Oh, yeah. And the rest, because of obviously now they're a limited company and you've got to pay this.
Yeah. I thought about it. If they're paying 20% to Uber and there's 20% VAT on the fare, and then there's 20% tax on their income, and then there's wear and tear and fuel costs, there's about 60-70% of the fare is not theirs.
We can only say in the school, how many Uber drivers in the evening have...
You come down in the evening.
And it's amazing. And they're great people. They just actually want to bet themselves.
Of course it is, yeah.
Earn a good living.
Yeah.
And be their own boss.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And they are great people coming down here in the evening. I mean, it's a real mix of people at this school. It's so diverse, isn't it?
But what's making them do it, Leigh? What was the decision for them to start to do it?
Why wouldn't you want to be your own boss? You've been working for a company that doesn't want to look after you. They had to go to court to decide that they're going to give you sick pay, holiday pay, and the rest of it. Yeah. And now suddenly you realise you can earn a lot more money being your own boss and actually achieving something. And I think a lot of people in the knowledge have never, it's absolutely no disrespect to any, it's an achievement. Yeah. To get the knowledge for a lot of people, whoever, what background or working class, race, colour, creed, and it's such an achievement. And when you see the boys at the school,
of course,
when the Uber driver boys have got their knowledge, they've got the badge. How proud are they?
They're proud as punch. They're proud as punch. But looking at, ask the simple. It's as simple as this: saying, why would an Uber driver want to do the knowledge is like saying, why would you want to bet yourself?
Yeah.
Because that's what they're doing.
Why wouldn't you want to bet yourself?
Yeah, why wouldn't you want to bet yourself?
Because they do.
Because that's what they're doing. And ultimately.
That's what we're all doing it for.
No, I know. I mean, I remember walking out of Penton Street and just walking on clouds and thinking, I can't believe it's ended. I've done it. It is the biggest thing. And I often make lots of sporting metaphors, but that's it. You won the Champions League that moment in time.
I won the World Cup when I come in. I remember I won
a Grand Slam once. It doesn't matter.
You literally did win the Grand Slam.
I did. Yeah. But once I get that, and I've got such great support behind me. And I know my dad, my kids, once I have that green badge, and I have got great friends that are all, but I will just be one happy woman.
Oh, I remember sitting on a train on the way home, and I promise you now, people thought I was delirious because I was just laughing to myself. I couldn't stop. At the sheer fact that I've just done the knowledge, I was laughing to myself out loud people must have seriously thought I was delirious.
Yeah.
But
this is the only thing I've worked hard for in my life, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I've joined the Navy, I played my rugby, but this is the only genuinely thing I've ever worked hard for.
Yeah.
Ever. And studied. That have kept my mind going, I've got to go to school every day. Because I hated school.
I agree.
I was never academic at all. I wanted to kick a football, I wanted to run around a track. That was me.
Oh, yeah.
And then joined the Navy, which is great.
Yeah, no, I make you spawn. I make you spawn.
Honestly, it was. But then again, that's why it probably makes us good, because we know about discipline.
Yes.
You know, when you're a sportsman or referee or a fireman, you know you have to get up that time. You have to train. You have to do this. You have to. You know, you can't just get up and think, I'm not going to bother today, because your coach.
Yeah.
Like for rugby, you know, my coach would know if I didn't do my repetition, I didn't do my sprints, I didn't do like my endurance training, didn't do my strength training, I wouldn't get picked.
Mm-hmm.
He would know straight away that I hadn't put the effort in. And this is why discipline, and a lot of people, until they get that discipline of knowing what it's like to get up every morning, to wake up, you know.
You've hit on a really something I've observed for many years. All of the sports people I meet, boxers, the discipline boxers require to fight, it's the same thing. And as soon as they understand that, they can relate it and translate it into this. This is now the new discipline. Yeah. And it does tend to be, I've met academics come and they don't understand the discipline because they've worked on like, let's see what we can do least before we can go drinking on a Friday night and party and pass the exam on Monday without doing anything. Whereas sports people, they don't have that excuse. There is only the discipline. Mm-hmm. And this is the same thing. Yeah. As soon as you apply the discipline, I would not have ever stopped calling my Blue Book runs. Mm-hmm. The discipline was there. Yeah. That was my fluency. That meant I would not forget St Margaret Street, Old Palace Yard, Abingdon Street. That won't slip my memory. Whereas as soon as you stop calling these things, they just start to mishmash into each other.
I think with the sportsmen and women, though, the thing is, you know, in terms of sports people, they dedicate themselves to something so much. But once that's done, it's done. Mm-hmm. There's nothing at the end of it. The knowledge is the same in terms of the discipline, the way you dedicate yourself. But at the end of it is a whole new world.
You're a winner.
A whole parallel. Yeah. That, you know, you, obviously, when you played rugby, right? You play rugby, you know, you win a Grand Slam. There's no bigger feat. You've done it, But once you finish, like that's it. That is done.
Yeah, maybe we should just add that Leigh was a professional rugby player for Ireland and has played and won a Grand Slam for Ireland.
So in terms of women's rugby, there's no bigger pinnacle than winning a Grand Slam. But you know, when it's done, it's not done because you've got. But it is. That's in terms of rugby, it's over.
It was a really interesting thing because I think sports people never stop trying to achieve. Yeah. You know, and I thought, oh, what do I do now? Yeah. And I worked in the black cab trade for years before this, and I thought everyone doubted that it would never continue. And that's one of my driving forces really, was to say the black cab is going to survive. And if people don't start doing the knowledge, well, there's going to be no knowledge anymore. And after this, I'm done. Yeah. I'm done about trying to achieve that's anything more. You know, my kids are probably looking at me going, Mum, please stop. Yeah. Because they're drained. They're probably more drained than drained than I am. Yeah,
but that's the thing with the knowledge is like, you know, what I was saying about the Irish rugby, but at the end of it is a whole new there's something there.
There is a job. There is a job.
And it's the whole it's the whole self-autonomy of you sing to your own tune. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You've dedicated.
I don't know, George. There could also be the syndrome of school being the best days of your life, and then you leave school, and the reality is you have to go to work. Yeah. So the reality for you is, I mean, you have several jobs, so you're in a very, very good position. The reality isn't you don't have to absolutely work hard in the cab afterwards, but you're still going to work.
He will.
Yeah, I mean, but that was one of the things I like fishing. I was a very competitive fisherman. And driving a cab is exactly the same. A £5 fare is a little fish, and a £100 fare is a big fish, and you just keep thinking another fish through the window. I want a net full of fish. And I used to be doing 16 to 20 hour shifts just because I couldn't stop seeing the little hand go up. And then you get so late in the night that you start stopping for pay and display meters, thinking they're people standing on the side of the road because you're hallucinating.
Yeah, but that's what makes, you know, people like yourself a good cab driver. That's what will make you a good cab driver, is that sporting element background is so translatable.
I don't have the sporting element. Leigh has the sporting, and you have the sporting.
Skateboarding.
Yeah, but I never.
You may think, I was never, but it was in you to do it, and that's why you stuck to it and you done it. But it's so translatable to, you know, what you're going to go and be doing in the cab. And is it innate? I don't know. Maybe you've got it. Maybe you ain't. Who knows? But
yeah. I think it's been an amazing talk, and I think we would carry on for another 50 minutes just talking garbage, really. But it was, I think, probably the best podcast we've done so far, and really, thank you both for coming and speaking, and hopefully we'll have something to speak about in the future. Maybe when you're both out in the cab, we can come back and we can talk about the experiences you're having
100%.
in the cab.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you both. Thanks to Leigh Dargan and George Barker. And yeah, George has just got his rec and will be a cab driver shortly, driving his cab, and Leigh is on 21s. And she will be a cab driver shortly too. And George has done it in 2 years, 4 months. 2
years, 4 months, from Manor Station to Gibson Square.
Yes, which is the dates that I always count. Yeah. You're still only 4 months and 3 days later than me, though, George.
Yeah.
So
it was easier on your day, though, wasn't it?
Well, you know, I had COVID to contend with.
You did, actually. Yeah. And that was something we didn't point out. COVID delayed so many people, but doesn't seem to have delayed you. So were people using COVID as an excuse?
COVID was a gift for us because
100%.
we was end of Blue Book 3, or more or less, when COVID hit.
And we just...
And where most people probably...
They were on appearances, they were stuck.
No.
They was on appearances or they were stuck.
We were just on Blue Books.
Some people were on appearances and stuck. Other people use it as an excuse to...
Not do anything.
Oh, dear. We seized the opportunity and thought we can get from...
Blue Book 4 done.
You know, base 1 to base 4 with actually losing no time. And that's one thing I would actually say about the knowledge is, I think we was fortunate to do it during COVID, because if you think about life itself,
everyone stopped. We didn't.
We've not missed much in life. No. Yeah, we've dedicated our lives to doing the knowledge, and we have made huge sacrifices, especially more so you with having like a young family and stuff. But if you actually look at it in the grand scheme of things, I've been on holiday for 3 years. But neither of most people.
No.
Like in terms of COVID, we've actually seized a brilliant opportunity.
To be at school, do our Blue Book runs, do our missing pieces.
In terms of life, we've not missed much.
I just think you've done exactly what you should have done. I cringe at the thought that people actually stopped and thought, I'll have a break. Yeah. It's like, what?
We seized that opportunity
COVID,
massively, yeah.
So we didn't see each other. Originally I caught COVID, but we maximised that opportunity just to get it done.
Yeah.
And we still went to school, didn't we? Because it was a learning.
Gave everybody COVID in the school.
No, it's
we was more or less the only ones there. So we was in a safe environment.
Was this in the City Airport School?
Yeah.
And we had so much space. So at the City Airport School, you could literally have a 2 metre distance between everybody. So that's fine.
And people did look at it like, oh, you know, well, appearances ain't going to be, you know,
but we spoke to people and they're going, oh, yeah, just stay at home with the kids and play PlayStation.
No. We seize that opportunity.
I'll tell you what I did. Went to school and got this done.
Yeah, it was
one big happy family now, George.
Yeah, well done everybody. We call it a day there. We have literally done an hour and a half of recording. I think we talked some other subject at the beginning, which I want to keep because it was good. There was so much good stuff.
I'm going to keep all night.